I had never heard of this before, so I want to know, have you guys heard of the true story of Midnight Mary? On October 15th of 1872, Mary Hart suddenly just dropped dead. Now, what's specific to this story was that she was pronounced gone at exactly midnight, and they buried her in the Evergreen Cemetery located in New Haven, Connecticut. Something was very wrong. All of her relatives had these extreme nightmares where they would hear Mary screaming as if they could hear it from underground. These nightmares actually became so bad for the family that they exhumed the body, which is when they found the most shocking part of the story: scratch marks from inside her casket. She had accidentally been buried alive.
You should never eat sushi, and this is why. One day a man went to the doctors complaining of pain in his stomach and itchy skin. He later found out that his entire body was infested with tapeworms after eating contaminated sushi. Since the sushi wasn't cooked, the tapeworms transferred from the sushi to his body. These worms can grow multiple feet long and live in the body for years. Unfortunately, the worms entered his brain, causing him to have a seizure and die.
This is why you should always pay attention to details. Once there was a boy named Jonah who was walking through a park to go home after school, but he never expected what he'd see there. He saw a girl sitting alone by a swing in the park, and this made him curious. So he decided to approach her, and from that time on, they talked every night before Jonah went home. Later, he told his friends about this girl, only for his friends to say never go to that park again. They told him years ago at that park, a teacher's daughter passed away in a horrible car accident. When she was found, she was missing a finger. Jonah didn't believe them, so the next time he saw the girl, he asked to see her hands. When she finally showed him, he saw her missing finger. Jonah ran as fast as he could. Even after he went back to the park, he never saw the girl again.
I'm losing my mind over this. This could actually be a picture of the Lone Rock Woman. There are these long-standing legends of Lone Rock Beach of a murderous woman who roams the beach at night and she goes after campers. These police descriptions of a woman with wild hair and these menacing eyes, but it's always just kind of been a story. There was never really any proof of this until a phone turned up on the beach. So 3 teenagers found an iPhone that was abandoned in the sand, and before they turned it in, they did what anybody would do. They would browse the camera roll. They ended up finding this unnerving photo of a woman who clearly took this photo with the self-timer, and she roughly seemed to match the description. When police eventually turned the phone back to the owner, they did not recognize the woman, and nobody else on that beach the day that the photo was taken seemed to spot her, leaving us with the question, could this be the only known photo of the murderous woman of Lone Rock Beach?
1921, a German farmer woke up to find a deep set of footprints leading from the forest right up to his house. Whoever was there had not left yet. Making sure it wasn't just his family, he searched his entire property but found no sign of anyone. A few weeks later, the family maid would suddenly quit because she claimed to hear demonic voices coming from the attic. Shortly thereafter, the farmer and his entire family would begin hearing the voices as well. When nobody has heard from them in a couple of days, the neighbors go over to check on them, but they would find a horrific scene. One by one, the entire family had been murdered and stacked in the corner of the barn. To this very day, nobody knows who or what took the lives of the entire family.
A woman moved into a brand new house and she saw this standing over her bed one night. Now the story goes a woman just moved into a brand new apartment. The movers just dropped off all the stuff and she was rearranging the apartment. So she got the bedroom done first so she can sleep there for the night. So after a very long and tiring day of moving, she went to bed pretty early. But in the middle of the night, she was woken up to some footsteps coming from the apartment building. Now she never lived in an apartment, so she wasn't used to hearing footsteps. So she just thought it was coming from the neighbors upstairs or either downstairs. So she kind of just ignored it and went back to bed. But then she woke up again a couple hours later because she heard a very scary scream. This time she jolted out of bed and turned her phone flashlight on. And as she did, she saw this standing in her doorway.
Back in 2010, a kid by the name of Jason was playing video games late at night. He was having a good time, but that all changed when he heard a very loud noise come from next door. The house next door was abandoned, so he wondered what on earth could make that noise. He let curiosity take the best of him, so he grabbed the flashlight and went to go check it out. Jason walked inside and he started hearing more strange noises come from the basement. Jason was terrified, but he wanted to know what made the noise, so he began to walk down the stairs. Once he got to the bottom, he shined his light into the room, and what he saw was terrifying. There was a creepy looking man rocking back and forth in a rocking chair. The man looked at Jason and gave him a horrifying looking smile. Jason screamed in terror and ran as fast as possible. And you won't believe what happens next. Like for part 2. Jason screamed in terror and ran as fast as possible up the stairs. The man got up from the chair and started chasing him. Jason was crying and begging the man to leave him alone, but the man was just laughing. Eventually, Jason finally made it out of the house. He quickly turned around and noticed that the man was gone. He ran back to his house where he called the police. As he was calling them, he noticed something in the upstairs window of the abandoned house. It was the man, standing completely still and smiling. Jason screamed out on the phone and begged for the police to come as quickly as possible. A few minutes goes by and the police finally show up. They searched the entire house but found no sign of anybody. However, they did find a kitchen knife sitting on the rocking chair that the man was rocking on. To this very day, the man is still somewhere out there.
Should never lick an envelope, and this is why. Cheryl was a 38-year-old woman who worked at a post office in California. Normally, she uses a wet sponge to seal the envelopes, except this time she did something different. She decided to lick every envelope until eventually she cut her tongue. She didn't think much of it until 1 week later when these weird bumps started forming on her tongue. Eventually, it got so painful, so she decided to see a doctor, and the doctor recommended surgery. But when he started cutting into it, you won't believe what they found inside. When he cut into one of the bumps, a cockroach started crawling out of it. It turns out, one of the envelopes had cockroach eggs on it, so when she cut her tongue, the eggs got inside and started growing baby cockroaches.
If you wake up in the middle of the night, don't do what they did. Once there was a girl named Bailey who went to a sleepover at a friend's house. But when her parents went to pick her up the next day, something terrifying happened. So Bailey got home pretty late, ate dinner, and went to bed. But in the middle of the night, Bailey woke her parents up. Her dad asked, "What are you up for? It's so late," struggling to put his glasses on. Then Bailey tugged at his shirt sleeve and said, "Guess how old I'm going to be next month?" "I don't know," her dad said, thinking this was some kind of joke. "How old?" Bailey smiled and held up 4 fingers. It's about 7 in the morning now, and Bailey's parents have been awake for almost 8 hours. Still, Bailey refuses to tell her parents where she got them from. Follow for more stories.